Hello everyone. This is my review on one of the most anticipated reads of 2020, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, written by Schwab. The video is not entirely spoiler free because I'm going to rant about what I felt while reading the book in detail. Not to worry, people, I will give a warning before things go spoilery. Now let's dive into the story. Addie lives a simple, normal life with her parents in a small town in France. But unlike any other girl of her age, she does not like the concept of getting married, bearing children, and ending up doing chores throughout her life. The typical expected out of a woman life. She wants to do something more and maybe go to some places in life. In 1714, Addie faces an unavoidable situation in life, and when she finds no escape, out of desperation, she bargains with someone in the dark and gets what she asked for, but that came with a price. The price she had to pay was not being remembered by anybody. All the people in her life do not remember her anymore, and the people she meets forget her as soon as she's out of sight. But after 300 years of being forgotten and living a ghost life, Henry, a young man in a bookstore, remembers her. Will she have a life being remembered, or Henry is a part of another trick? Is the rest of the story. The story is mostly written in Addie's POV in two timelines, one that follows Addie after the bargain in 1714 and the other after 300 years in 2014 where Henry comes into picture. We get to read some difficult times that Addie lives with some time skips. Obviously, not all of her 300 years. So, yeah, we get to see several specific days in her life where there is war and sufferings, where she travels to some places where she is in a terrible shape too. The writing style of Victoria was so different from her other books. Except for the Steel Prince comic series, I think I have read all of her books that she has written under her name Victoria Schwab or V.E. Schwab. And being a fan of her writing, I felt like the writing in this book to be very flat and devoid of any feelings. I was cool with Addie being forgotten over and over again, and I did not feel for her when she went through all sorts of sufferings. There is one unexpected twist in the ending which made me feel a little bad. That's all, nothing more. For all the hype that was given, I expected the book to take me on a roller coaster ride, but for me, this was a very average book. No offense, Schwab fans, but that's how I feel. So here comes my rantings. So if you do not want any spoilers, stop watching the video now. I will start from the beginning of the story. So let's look at the situation where Addie seeks someone in the dark. She is facing a life changing situation and is desperate to get out of it. I'm not going to tell what the situation is because I still want to avoid spoilers as much as I can. Now, she is very desperate in that situation that she runs out of her place and into the darkness to seek help. I felt like if she had hidden and waited out, she could have escaped that situation easily. I mean, there were so many options for her to escape that situation without bargaining with someone she has no idea about. She does not even know if the darkness will answer her when she seeks for a bargain. But also, she knew from someone in her village that bargaining with the Dark One will end up bad for her. I understand that the plot happens in 1714 and people were backward and women were not so independent, but she was a 23-year-old woman when she bargained with the Dark One and not a teenager. When all her friends had married off and lived a very predictable ordinary life, she had successfully avoided that for so many years. So I did not feel the reason behind her desperation compelling enough. Now, coming to that someone in the dark. He is what we know to be a trickster god from so many other fantasy books. So he tricks people into giving more than what they bargain for. Eventually, he takes a physical form and name, avoiding the need to address the shadows. That was good. He also shows some of the other people he tricked over the years, and several of those were renowned people, and his tricks were not so interesting. I felt like his character to be underdeveloped because being a trickster gives so many possibilities, and those were never explored. One of Schwab's ghosts in Cassidy Black series was more trickier than this trickster. Coming to Addie's present life. After centuries of living, I expected Addie to have some tricks up her sleeve. Except for once, she never seemed to have tried to make a home for herself. True that people forget her once she is out of their sight, so she cannot get a job, she cannot find a place to live, and she cannot have a regular life. But she could have tried again something differently. I don't know what, but I just know that taking lovers during night so that she has a place to stay and stealing from people for food and essentials was not enough. Even when she takes up lovers during nights, I'm not sure how they remember her throughout the night. Did not even a single person who slept the night next to her wake up in between? Even if who she's with takes a bathroom break, they will forget her, right? I just don't get it because we see that she has had lovers in the past who had impact in her life. In that case, even if it was for several hours, did she go everywhere with that person during that time? The forgetfulness being convenient according to the situation was not okay. Next thing is how she cannot leave anything behind that will make an impression of her. Like she cannot write about her life. She cannot maintain a journal basically. She herself cannot express about her in any form of art. She cannot be in photographs. But she plants a sampling and it grows into a tree. If that is possible, she could have lived in some abandoned building somewhere in the outskirts, growing her own vegetables and farming a home for her, isn't it? That's one small possibility. Except learning a dozen languages, visiting some places, and finding lovers to have a roof over her head, did she do nothing notable at all in those 300 years? Of course, she reads books, so being a fellow reader, I appreciate that. Coming to one person who remembers her, Henry. The reason behind Addie liking him is understandable, but how does he remember her and why and how could she tell her name only to him? Some things were explained around that, but I never got the actual answer. The relationship between Addie and Henry seemed a necessity rather than romantic. I mean, they both needed something which the other person had, so it was just something convenient between them, but I did not see any love blooming between them. Whatever trick that brought Addie and Henry together allowed him to write a book about Addie. That is one of the few things I really liked about this book because it was actually a good idea. But I did not see the point behind writing that book anonymously. Even if he was the only living proof that she existed, what will go wrong if he writes the book under his name or even under a pen name? I don't know. Finally, there is the matter of seven freckles across her face. Many a times in history, I mean her history, or the period when she lived, in some art forms, a woman with freckles is mentioned, which is an impression that she had made. Clearly shows that she had existed, but no one knew her name or any details about her. So, in a way, she had already been making impression. I don't see any other significance behind those freckles because many people, we get to see that many people actually point that out about her freckles. But what's the point in having that? Oh, I almost forgot. Addie is bisexual, but I don't remember reading about any of her female lovers. It would have been nice if there were one person from her lovers to be a female that we got to know how things went between them. Maybe the relationship between Addie and the trickster could have been explored more. That was one possibility because, like I said earlier, the trickster's character was underdeveloped. There were so many possibilities that could have explored. So maybe the relationship between them would have been nice. If you have read this book and you have a convincing answer to any of these questions, do write them in the comments below. I would love to know more theories. I would rate this book a 2.5 out of 5. Thank you all for watching this video. If you like this review, hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep reading books. Until the next review, this is Darshini signing off.